call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7 p.m. Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Present.
Mr. Rollins?
Here.
Mrs. McCulloch? Mr. Siegel?
Here.
Mr. Connor? Ms. Stanford?
Here.
With 4 present, 2 absent, we have a quorum.
We'll now take a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. As we start each board meeting, it bears reminding that the mission of the Rockford Public Schools is to collaboratively engage all students in a first-class education for a changing world. Before we go any further, thank you to Connor Childers, who is working behind the scenes to produce the board's broadcast via YouTube live stream and Comcast Channel 20. I also wish to welcome Superintendent Student Advisory Council Representative Andrea Vasquez from Jefferson High School. We will now celebrate the Rockford Public Schools. As some of you know, what we have been doing is asking individual schools to come and give us presentations on unique and innovative ways that they're trying to reach their students. Today we'll have a presentation from Washington Elementary, who will share their Washington's House System.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? Awesome. Nervous, but good. I'm going to take my keys off so they won't be jingling here. On behalf of myself, so I'm Angelique Malone. I am the building principal of Washington Elementary School.
I'm Erica Schwanke, the assistant principal.
And we have a few of our staff members who are here and proud with their camera phones out right now that's joining us. This is just a part of some of our staff members at Washington Elementary School. And we just want to thank you guys for inviting us and providing us the platform and opportunity to just talk to you about our house system that we are implementing at Washington, that we're very proud of and excited about where it's going to grow and go in the future. All right, so Mr. Schwanke is going to start our presentation off to just kind of explain why we have a house system at Washington Elementary School.
So last school year, we started our house system. We called it our house system 1.0. We're currently implementing house system 2.0 this year. And really the reason for the house system is that we speak a lot to our students and our staff about things that we can and we can't control. And there's so many things that we cannot control that we choose to focus on the things that we can. So when our students come to school, we can provide them the things, at the lower end of this hierarchy. And we really got to that middle section, the love and belonging, and we thought, this is something that we can definitely control. We necessarily don't always do a great job of this, but we really could do a great job of this. And so in order to provide a space for students to really come and belong and feel that sense of family and friendship and connection, we created and we actually implemented. It's not something that we created. Our Ron Clark Academy actually created it, but we brought it to our school to do just that. So when students walk into our building, they're automatically placed in a house. We are representing our houses here tonight. We have 4 of them. We'll talk a little bit about them in a moment. But students are placed in a house and automatically have a place that they belong.
And do you want to kind of talk about just briefly, once those kind of bottom needs are met for our students, how we anticipate that impacting our students' just achievement overall, academically, socially, and emotionally?
Sure. So basically after they get those first 2 needs met, and then we provide that space for love and belonging, really we believe that students can achieve to their full capacity. So they can't get to that sense of esteem and self-actualization until they've met all of those lower levels. So focusing on the love and belonging level eliminates that one. We create that for them, and then they can reach that level of esteem and then the level of self-actualization, so that when they're coming to school every day, they don't have to worry about anything else. They can only focus on academics and achieving.
Thank you. All right, so what is a house system? So just kind of in a nutshell, I'll just read this so that I can make sure I cover all components of that. But at Washington Elementary, we implement the RCA house system. It's a dynamic, exciting way to create a powerful and positive school climate for not just our students, but staff as well. Students and staff, they're celebrated for their efforts through a process that helps build character. It empowers academic excellence. It fosters a school spirit. It enhances relationships, and then it just promotes a culture of belonging for all of our students and staff and families that belong to the Washington community.
So, is anybody familiar with Harry Potter? All right, awesome.
Got some fans in the house.
So if you're not familiar with Harry Potter, so in Harry Potter there are 4 houses that all the students are sorted into. So this is the same kind of design. So Ron Clark designed this house system at RCA to mimic that. So we have 4 houses, and actually the RCA has 8 houses. We chose 4. We have 4 strands at Washington for every grade level, so we chose 4 houses, and we chose them with a purpose. So for example, Altruismo has Portuguese origins. They're the house of givers. And this crest in the corner here, they eat everything on the crest has a meaning. So when students are basically not born into, but given this house, they automatically start identifying those things in that crest, and then they start talking about the things. So we all have a hand signal. We all have a chant. They have the diamond in the middle of their crest. So they all have things that are representing their house. They are the power of empowering others. So that's what we talk about with the Altruismo students and staff.
And so my house is Bendy, the best house. I'm being biased, but I love all the houses. Our saying is we have 4 houses, but we're one family. So even though we have 4 houses in our system, we're all still one big happy family. But Izabendi, so for example, its origin is from South Africa, and it represents the Zulu tribe. And so Izabendi in Zulu, it means courage. And so if you look at the crest, you'll see like the mute swan and the ebony tree, the lion, and the Zulu axe. And so it really reflects and embodies like the strength and courage of a lion. So we represent courage in House Izabendi. And so we make sure that our students are educated and understand so that they can embody, you know what I mean, like basically the spirit of like their house.
House Revere is my house. Woo! So this is our symbol. It's 2 crescent moons. And so we are the house of wisdom, passion, and dreamers. And it's really neat, actually, the staff that we've actually identified, we land in the houses that we really identify with most, just randomly. We didn't select it, it was all random. But this house is really just about having fun and just bringing life to the school.
And then last but not least, we have House Amistad, which is of Spanish origin. And House Amistad represents the house of friendship. So they really embody the kindness of heart and strength of a true warrior. So these are 4 houses that students and staff are sorted into at Washington Elementary School.
So the next few slides are just going to kind of show you how we showcase our virtues with the house system. So we really create that sense of belonging that we're talking about. We have Friday house assemblies. So up in the corner, you can see our students come dressed in their house colors. We dress up. We have pom-poms. Some of the classes have pom-poms. We celebrate. And this is the time for us to recognize student and staff excellence. So we award, the teachers award Student of the Week awards. We award Staff Excellence awards. awards, they get a prize, they come up, they get recognized in that way. And really it's about cheering on for others in their success. So all students, if you ever join us, it's very loud, it's very exciting on a Friday Assembly Day. We have the sorting ceremony that we did this year, which is the bottom left and the middle section. So all of the students were sorted because we were doing 2.0 this year. We wanted all students to be sorted differently. Last year it was just by classroom. This year we have a mix of all houses in every class. So we went outside, we had big smoke bombs that revealed which house they were in, and it was a great opportunity to really show some of the district members as well that came to witness that.
Yeah.
And the last piece there up in the right-hand corner, this is a 4th grade classroom, and this teacher actually went as far as to create houses within her classroom. So it's the same houses, but each table, as you can see, so everybody from Isabindi is there sitting at the green table, the red table, so that's how she creates that sense of community in her classroom as well, but also competition between students. You know, they play games and they compete against one another in the classroom. And a student told me that this is a way to really identify all of their strengths and then build upon those to create one great classroom.
Mm-hmm. And another thing to just kind of add, great job, Mr. Schwanke, explaining that. The students, once they're sorted into a house, they remain in that house until they leave Washington Elementary School and go on to middle school. So they get to be with that family throughout their entire time at Washington. The next piece here is just we celebrate academic excellence. So here in the left-hand corner was just a classroom of all students who met or exceeded their MAP growth goals for the school year. And then the other picture is a picture of our kiddos at the Friday Assembly and the staff members receiving their weekly awards.
So we also do community service projects. Each house does a community service project as a house, and through those activities, it builds a lot of character. So here you can see this was last spring. We did a school cleanup day in conjunction with, I think it was like a national cleanup day. So students went outside by house and had a quadrant of our school grounds and cleaned up. This one on the right, these students filled this bag of leaves so full that they couldn't carry it. So we kind of put it back on them and said, well, how are we going to get this to the dumpster? And they persevered. They worked it out and drug that thing all the way to the dumpster, all of them. So that was really, really neat. We planned family events. So each house is planning a family event this year. We have 5th grade house leaders. So 5th graders can be nominated to be a leader of their house. They get some special privileges, and they just get really looked upon, highly regarded. And we also have new this year staff house leaders and lieutenants. So each of our houses has one staff member who's been nominated by their house to lead their house, and then they have a right-hand man or woman as their lieutenant.
So as the administrators, we aren't the ones who are leading this work. We're supporting the work, but our teachers, not only teachers, we have paras who have stepped up, our BIS who've stepped up in these leadership capacities. So they're really owning our house system and like leading the way at our school. So we're really proud and impressed with that as well. And then this is just a quick video for you guys to just hear some testimonials from our students and staff, and then we are done. So I think Connor's going to click it for us.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Bachman, and I'm from class River. That is my house. I truly believe that the house system is amazing at Washington, because you know how it is when you are welcomed into a house as a guest. But I think that in part of the house system, you are not welcome, but you belong there. Just like you belong in your house, in your family, and when you belong at church, that's how I feel the children feel when they're part of their house.
Hola, me llamo Melissa, pues me gusta el equipo de SyncID porque me gusta el color de SyncID y tiene un cool picture on it.
I love the Friday House Assembly because I get to let out all the energy that's saved up, and I get to do fun things like go up to the stage when my name is called. it's for your family, and you could privacy. That's why. You could and they can be proud of you too, and we can be proud of them.
Hi guys, I was asked to share with you guys what it is that I love about our house system here at Washington. What I can tell you that I really like about our system is how exciting and energetic it is. It's a great way to create positive environment and culture for not only our students and staff members, but also for our family members. We have seen it firsthand here at Washington, how excited our family members are about our house system and how involved they are. I also believe that using RCA will help our school build character, relationships, and of course, school spirit, lots of school spirit. But most importantly, it will allow our students to feel like they belong, like they are part of a family, because even though we do have 4 houses, we are one big family.
To me, the house system means that we are all trying to do our best and paying attention to our work. The teachers will nominate their student or students for doing their best work and staying on task. There are 4 different houses. They are Altruismo, Isabindi, River, and Amistad. Although we are 4 houses, we are all one family.
So, yeah, that is our house system. And before we sit down, I do want to give a shout out to my assistant principal, because this is her love child that she actually brought to Washington Elementary School. We both transitioned to Washington last year in leadership roles there, and she brought this to our system. So without her, we would not have this house assembly. So we just want to give her a shout out too. Thanks. We're done. I can cut it off, Morgan.
Does anybody have any questions? Maybe not.
No questions, but man, that's awesome. I love that great sense of belonging that you bring to the kids and to the adults in that one environment. I think that's going to be a great way to bring cohesion into the classrooms. So thank you. I really appreciate you doing this and bringing the presentation to the board.
Sir, I'm sorry, but this is not, we can't take questions from the audience right now. This is just actually for us at the board level. Mrs. Pearson, did you have a question?
I do have a question. So first of all, congratulations on you both being fairly new in a leadership role, and you're killing the game, as they say, and that is absolutely phenomenal. My question is, how did you get the buy-in, and what strategies did you use for the remainder of the staff?
So what we did prior to actually starting at Washington, we had an opportunity to talk with staff and to just find out, like, what are some things that are going really well at Washington that you've been able to build as a school community, and what are some things that you would like to enhance, like, the school environment with. And a lot of our staff members were talking about, because we have a bilingual program within our school as well as our traditional monolingual program, and so they're in separate classes. They don't necessarily get to integrate all of the time, and so that was one of the programs in our school, like, how can we still have that sense of community and oneness under the umbrella of Washington. And so it was really driven by, like, staff feedback, and they also talked about the impact of students not being in school during that time of, like, COVID, and how can we transition back from COVID, have that cohesiveness, have that togetherness, and have kiddos feel like they belong, like this is your school community. So it was really centered on, like, staff input and what they felt like we needed to do in order to go to the next level as a school community. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for a phenomenal job that you're doing. And I've said for some time, we really have to do things different and be creative in how we're going to make it work in our educational system. And you all are doing a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We are now at the petitions and communications portion of our meeting when we invite the public to make comments. The board will not respond to the comments at this time. If it is appropriate, you will be contacted in a timely manner by staff. Each speaker will be allowed no more than 2 minutes to address the board. It is not appropriate to address individual board members or individual administrators or discuss matters that would otherwise be confidential in such open meetings. 2 names will be called at one time, the one whose turn it is to speak and the person who will speak next. When you are the second person, please come to the front and sit in a vacant chair. That way we will be able to devote the maximum amount of time to public comments. If you look on to your left, you will see 2 digital clocks. One shows the total time allotted to public comments, and one shows the total time for each speaker. We thank you for your interest and for your cooperation with our guidelines. Our first speaker tonight will be Bob Babcock, to be followed by Flossie Horde. Is your mic on, sir?
Button. Now it's green. Is that better? Thank you for this opportunity to address you. I think what the Washington Elementary School is doing is wonderful. I noted that at the top of the pyramid, things like esteem were not addressed. And I'm here tonight because I'm deeply concerned about what's going on in our schools in Illinois. I chair the Political Action Committee and the Criminal Justice Committees of the Rockford NAACP, co-chair of the Legal Redress Committee, and work with a number of other committees. So I see a lot, and I'm not a spring chicken, in case you hadn't figured it out. You know, I've been around the block a few times. I've lived in different states, different communities. And what I'm seeing here in Illinois is that we are failing our students. We have a situation where we have 47,850 people as of December 31st last year in our prisons, and 67.61% of them are people of color. What's going on? What's going on? You know, we're spending here in Illinois $38,000 a year to keep a person in a cage, because very often they're self-medicating with drugs because of the trauma in our society. And there's a lot of poverty and so on. I've seen other communities in which the schools have actually worked hard to eliminate poverty in the communities, and I'd be happy to discuss that. There's a woman by the name of Dr. Donna Beagle. I don't know if you ever heard of her. Her last name is spelled with all E's. Of course, there's a B, a G, and an L, but it's B-E-E-G-L-E, Dr. Donna Beagle. And she has a wonderful program that she's done. We've got to do something about the poverty. We have to do something about the trauma in our communities. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the Winnebago County Health Department has decided that it's going to make this region a trauma-informed region, and that's incredibly important. I know there are some things that the schools are doing, and I would hope that we could have some more conversation as my time is up. Thank you for the time.
Okay, and thank you. The next speaker is Flossie Horde, to be followed by Mel Champion.
Good evening. I'm here out of concern for what I observed at Auburn High School. About 3 weeks ago, I had a chance to go down to Auburn to help a parent complete the form for her child to attend the Guilford homecoming. And in doing so, when I entered Auburn, I went into a little booth. I think it's about a 6x6 or 2x4. And inside that little booth was about 2 or 3 more adults. And I couldn't help but feel so uncomfortable being confined in a booth waiting for them to clear me to go into the main office or to address the issue which I came for. After being cleared to go into the main school, I noticed that the format, the rug on the floor says Auburn Nights, had so many stains on it, and a piece of the carpet was torn from it. And I did follow protocol. I know the principal of Auburn, and I spoke to her about why they had that little 2x4 booth. And I thought about social distance, how you had about 4 or 5 different people in the booth at one time, and you definitely could not have social distance in there. I pointed to the rug on the floor, which she explained to me it needs to be cleaned, which I figured that out myself. But in doing that, I noticed as I began to when I pulled up on Auburn campus, I noticed barricades up on the campus. And then as I was leaving around the back where the students kind of like go into the gym area, I noticed that there were all kind of barricades up back there too. Now the principal did explain to me the reason for the booth was for safety. And I understand that Auburn had a shooting last year. Also, I went
Ms.
to...
Ward, if you could just sort of wrap things up because your time's expired.
So what?
Your time's expired. Could you just wrap it up? And maybe
I've had 2 minutes.
It's up.
Well, I can say this briefly. I went to Guilford. I didn't see a booth there. I went to East. I didn't see a booth there. Now, my concern is, why is Auburn the only school that has that 2x4 where people have to stand in a booth together and you do practice social distance? So I did talk to the school board member. They explained it to me. She said, come to tonight's meeting and address the board. And I have some major concerns about Auburn.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. The next speaker is Mel Champion, to be followed by Bobby Sorensen.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mel Champion. I am the president of Women's March Rockford, but tonight I'm here as a parent of 3 RPS students, one of which goes to Auburn High School. I recently, first of all, thanks for your hard work, especially these last couple of years. But I recently saw a video where a 14-year-old child was body slammed by a school resource officer for skipping class. He just skipped class. That's what he did. I reread the handbook today, and nowhere in it did it say that upon signing that I was agreeing to corporal punishment being inflicted on my child as a punishment for skipping class or doing anything else that involves behavioral issues. In the article that accompanied the video, I read that Auburn staff and administration call the police on students 94% more often than any other school in the nation, not in the state of Illinois, in the entire nation. I want to know whether or not this resource officer is still employed at Auburn or any other school. How are the school resource officers vetted? Is there special training that they must take? Why is Auburn majority minority, yet administration and staff do not reflect that? Is that a priority for you? Did the staff who witnessed this make witness statements? Did those witness statements reflect what was on that video? What are you going to do to ensure this doesn't happen again? As a city, we are taking domestic violence very seriously. Watching a grown man body slam a student, a 14-year-old baby. What is that telling our children? Is that telling our children that domestic violence is wrong? Is that telling our children that we are going to help them if they are involved in child abuse? What are we doing? What are you going to do to make this better?
Okay.
I contacted 3 of you. I heard back from 1.
Thank you for your comments.
The principal did not respond.
Next speaker is Bobby Sorensen, to be followed by Ronald Simmons.
So I'm a paraprofessional. I've been with the district for 7 years. This is my 7th year. I came from Easter Seals. I have a lot of special training on working with children with special needs, kids with disabilities, behavioral issues, and that sort of thing. I still yet to have earned a living wage working at this job, and I know I speak for a lot of other people, paras in the district. I don't know if any of you have ever wondered when you can finally make that dental appointment or if you can pay your rent this month, because I'm paying half this month or half this paycheck and half last paycheck. That's how I have to roll, because my rent is literally 50% of my earnings. Now, I'm mad because this poor kid went to RISA before he went there, and I am mandated to work with these kind of kids. I'm trained to de-escalate them and help them calm down in a safe manner, in an educated manner, and Yet we have resource officers at schools brutalizing kids, but you can't just actually pay paras a living wage and train us well enough so that we can help de-escalate these situations and stop that from even happening in the first place.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ronald Simmons, to be followed by Tyler Kreider.
Yes. I'm back again tonight to continue to talk about the drastic need to hire teachers of color, to recruit them, to hire them, to retain them, to tenure them, and to mentor them. This is so important because young children of color, black girls and black boys, continue to not have the role of modeling experiences or relationships that are so important to their psychological development. When you don't have this allows for some systemic racism, continuous and definitely microaggressions to happen within the school district. So I think that hiring teachers of color would cut some of this down. We know that it has been difficult for teachers of color to be hired. We acknowledge the fact that the graduation pool of minority teachers, especially black males, is at an all-time low. But we also acknowledge that this is a responsibility that you have to hire and to find teachers of color within this district. We often hear not to reference the past or what has happened in the past. I've been in this district for 50 years, and in these 50 years, I've had a wife that's graduated from Auburn. I have 4 kids that graduated from Auburn and Guilford. My wife about 40-some years ago, my children 20-some years ago. The district has had an opportunity to hire teachers of color on I don't know how many occasions, and that has not happened. If you look at the pool of teachers of color, it's about 11%, I think. And I think you have about 1,800 teachers in the district, of which about 80 of those teachers are teachers of color. So I'm asking the district to make a greater effort to do a better job at finding teachers of color. I don't know how you can do that, but that is your job to do, and we would like for you to have those teachers in the classroom. We know that if a black child or a child of color, sees a teacher of color, they're more likely to graduate from high school or college. So this is a job that I think that you have to do.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Tyler Kreider, to be followed by Ricky Naylor.
Hello, my name is Tyler. I'm with Ending Violent Crime, partnering with Live Free Rockford, Live Free Illinois. When did it become acceptable in our community to have a 14-year-old child thrown to the ground, their head stomped, bashed in, and have permanent brain damage here? When did that become acceptable in our community? You know, if as a parent I did that to a child, here DCFS would be at my front door and I would be arrested. That officer needs to be held accountable. In 1975, only 1% of United States schools reported having school resource officers, but that number rose to about 36% by 2004 and to 58% by 2018, including 72% of high schools. These increases are due in large part to more than $1 billion in federal funding to school resource officers. Yet research shows that school resource officers do little to reduce on-campus violence or mass shootings, and their presence is often damaging to students of colors and students with disabilities. Having school resource officers in schools can actually create higher rates of behavioral incidents and spikes in suspensions, expulsions, and arrests. You know, if that officer did that to my kid, I wouldn't be here having that discussion today. I can tell you that. You know, it's disgusting watching the video of what that 14-year-old kid does. You know, now not only does he have permanent brain damage, but how is this going to affect him in the future with him getting a job to be a positive role model in the community? You know, we need to become better people here and stuff. We need to take school resource officers out of all the Rockford public schools and out of all the schools in Rockford, period. End of discussion here, you know. I hope to God that it's not one of your children that go through this here, because only then stuff will get done around here. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ricky Naylor, to be followed by Sky Gia Garcia.
Okay, first of all, with this pay thing, you guys paying your staff, where I work at, the starting pay is $21.44 an hour, and you guys not even nowhere near close to that. But first of all, second of all, I want to go back about to the year 2016 when you guys had a little delegation that went down to Peoria School District with Rockford alignment. And then you was trying to help them guys help their schools. Okay, now, since that time, today now, Peoria is going up here, you guys are going down here. And you know why? Look at the staff down in Peoria. The top 2 jobs down in the administration are black people. Black superintendent, black assistant superintendent. The top 2 people on the school board. The board president is black, the vice president is black. Now, Peoria got more black students than you guys do on a percentage basis, so you can't say that this failure around here is on these kids. And also, they got more white teachers on a percentage than you do, so the problem has to be up in here. You guys are just convinced that you're going to ram this system down with just all these white voices and these hand-picked black staff going to make all this whole thing work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can keep trying to hire people to come in here that you like, that you know is not going to push y'all and make y'all uncomfortable and say, you know what? We keep talking about we're going to make these staff reflect the reputation of these students. You've been saying that stuff for years, and it's not happening. You get 1 or 2 black administrators, and then you stop. You say, we got our quota, let's stop. You're playing quotas around here. You should just bring people in here that know how to work with kids that are not going to be afraid to speak up. Right now, we just got a whole lot of white voices, and the black voices are scared to speak up. I don't want to lose my job, all this kind of nonsense. It's got to stop. You know what I'm talking about.
Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker is Sky Gia Garcia, to be followed by Nina Giangeli.
Hello. Congratulations on becoming my first stop for the campaign of No Cops in Schools for RPS 205. I'm going to read a script that was written by a collective in Rockford named May 30th Alliance. May 30th Alliance continues to make Rockford a safer place for innocent people who experience injustice and violence, because the boards and the committees and the councils that claim to have the power to do so choose to be silent instead. And I'm no longer giving the benefit of the doubt. I believe this is intentional. I do not believe there's anyone in this room who does not understand police brutality, who does not understand the violence of police. I think instead elected officials, boards, committees, councils are protecting their privilege, and it's time to stop. My name is Sky Gia Garcia, and I am here about Paris Moore, a freshman at Auburn High School in 2021 that suffered a fractured skull and permanent brain damage due to force used by Rockford Police Department resource officer Brad Lauer in the hallway of Auburn. The punishment for being a new high school student in the hallway on your phone during class should not be permanent brain damage. Students should return home in the same condition they went to school in, not leaving school in a wheelchair. This is unacceptable to me as a community member of Rockford, and I'm demanding the removal of all police officers from RPS 205 to put an end to this violence and to protect student life. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker tonight is Richard Bunch. Sorry. Our next speaker is Nina Giangeli, followed by Richard Bunch.
Thank you. My name is Nina Giangeli. I'm a teacher in a neighboring district, a Rockford native, and a member of Eliminate Racism 815 Education Committee. You've heard me speak a lot about school discipline and accompanying professional development, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results of the recent changes to the handbook, especially based on what's come to light in the case of Paris Moore. To bolster a move from bullying approaches to school discipline to an empathetic approach, I'd like to share some information from Dr. Ibram X. Kendi's new book, How to Raise an Anti-Racist. He insists that caregivers refrain from wielding power over our students, because when we do, we are bullying them. Furthermore, they have no guidance on how to avoid repeating unwanted behaviors in the future. He says, as an alternative, caregivers can practice inductive discipline. When kids misbehave, we prompt the child to consider how their action impacted another and what they can do for redress. Inductive questions unlock their mind to empathy, which can allow her to think twice. Restorative justice for children and adults is based in empathy, and it is radically different from our criminal punishment system, which is based in bullying. The empathy of inductive discipline isn't just more humane, it is more effective at preventing harm and building community. Year-long suspension rates were cut in half when middle school teachers practiced inductive discipline as opposed to punitive discipline. Their inductive discipline involved speaking privately with the student and assessing whether the student's needs were being met rather than threatening the student with punishment or involving school administrators. We have our work cut out for us when it comes to moving the needle from a place of bullying and punishment to a place of empathy and repair. I know student absences are a problem. Maybe they don't want to come to school because they will be body slammed.
All right, and our final speaker will be Richard Bunch.
So I was going to talk about that incident at Auburn High School, but I realize that that's been covered pretty thoroughly. So what I want to say is, how is it possible that a so-called resource officer is hired and is able to get to the point where that sort of thing happens in the first place? It happens because these people are trained to take people down like that and bring them down to the floor and, and cause serious bodily harm to them. There's a video called Cop Watch, and if you watch it, you'll see that it shows some of the police training that occurs in the United States. And one of the features of most police training is that the police are literally told, your life is threatened, and you were supposed to use any type of violence that is necessary in order to protect yourself. So the person that is a so-called resource officer should be somebody that has been educated in sociology, psychology, who has some knowledge of how to treat kids, and not just some police officer that you hired from the Rockford police system who is going to behave like that simply because that is exactly what they've been trained to do. That kid, I mean, that's just insane that happened. If you look at the video, you can see that the move that was put on that kid was deliberately intention to slam the kid's head into the floor, because the officer falls right on top of him. He doesn't just trip him up, and then bring him down to the floor. He literally brings his entire body down onto that poor student. There was no way that kid's head wasn't going to hit that floor the way that was done.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry, your time is.
Yeah, okay. Well, you need to obviously invest more money into figuring out who you're hiring, because the job that you did is just.
Next on the agenda is the opportunity for comments from board members. Are there any board member comments? Ms. Pearson.
Thank you. I would like to first thank community members for always giving feedback. It is very much appreciated. I'm sure there may be many takeaways from that. I would like to add a quote from the very wise man, Dr. Charles Washington. And he frequently say, if you're going to present a complaint, a problem, come with a solution. And we, again, are living in very unique times. And this is a time that we really have to come together as a community to solve issues. And it is always better to, of course, address issues proactively as opposed to reactively. I have done so much as a board member to attempt community engagement. And if we want to see results in our community, all hands must be on deck. So I understand the frustration. I can empathize with the concerns, and there has to be accountability for every action. For every action. And our community members need to partner with us with a solution, because we can't stop at a complaint and put a period there. We must be interdependent and work with each other and come up with a solution for positive outcomes for our students. I have been an advocate for equity, community engagement, accountability, and I get phone calls, and I want to encourage community members, you can continue to call when needed. We have multiple streams of communication for RPS 205. There is an app, Let's Talk, the website, the Student Code of Conduct, Parent Handbook. So the resources are made available. If you need assistance in locating those resources or getting your hands on those resources, please reach out. Speaking of reaching out, there is something called chain of command. Now, if I, as your representative, is your first call or attempt, you have used your last resort as well. If there's an issue at the school, contact the school principal, school counselor, anyone at the school level, and follow that chain all the way to the captain of the ship, Dr. Aaron Jarrett. If Dr. Jarrett cannot resolve the problem, and keep in mind, problems are not going to be solved instantaneously. Many of them is a process. And we need the community to work with us in that process. Yes, there's opportunity, and I would say to the powers that be in HR, where it relates to hiring people of color, perhaps it's a marketing strategy. Maybe we're not being aggressive enough or competitive enough. There's many possibilities, and I'm not saying that we do nothing. We really need to make a difference in aiding the individuals, many of our students, to get teachers and administrators to look like them. But please, as I said, from 2016 to present, let's work together for our students and our families. Thank you.
I guess the only other thing I'm going to add, I'm going to say a version of something that I've said multiple times in various contexts. One of the hardest things as a board member is when situations come up and people are upset about something, they may have a piece of information and they may think they know the complete story, and we know other things, and we're not allowed to talk about them. Because why? Because there are privacy statutes that come into play. There could be litigation, and we're told we shouldn't talk about things that are subject to pending litigation. So it's not that if we don't respond directly to you, if we don't give you the answers that you're asking for, it's not because we're not listening. It's not because we don't care. It's because we're not allowed to, first off. And secondly, I do wish people would keep in mind that when they are told things or when they see a clip, a very short video clip, they have not been told. They may not have been told the whole story. They may not have all the information. And there are usually multiple sides to a story and much more information out there that we're not allowed to talk about and we're not allowed to share. So there are, I guess that's all I can say. I mean, it really does feel like being, in a boxing contest with one hand tied behind your back, because people are allowed to say whatever they want to say. They may not have the facts right, and we're not allowed to correct the record. But it is what it is.
Mr. Rollins, may I add one thing?
Yeah, Mr. Siegel.
Thank you. I too want to thank people who came tonight to speak, to show their support for the various causes, whether it's paraprofessional pay, whether it was an incident with a school resource officer, whether it's our to address efforts to hire more teachers of color. I know that in every incident, every problem that needs to be solved, there's a group of people whose role it is to point out the problem. And I appreciate you coming here and pointing out the problems. There's a much bigger group of people tasked with solving the problem. And no one person, no group of 7 will be able to solve these problems entirely on their own. I'm telling you that we need help. This is not going to be a surprise to you. You're telling us that we need help. We know. We are looking for the people who are going to be able to help. I appreciate you coming here tonight. I hope that some of you who are here calling attention to the problem are also going to be here to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Anything else? The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Jarrett.
Thank you. I do not have a formal report this evening, but I do want to point out that we will be hearing from our student representative at next week's, 2 weeks from now's meeting. And we also have some unfinished business from the retreat where we'll be talking about the superintendent targets and also support for struggling schools. So that will be coming at the 3rd meeting this month. Thank you, Mr. Rollins.
Thank you. We are now on to the consent portion of our meeting, which includes items previewed by the board committee chairs during the committee of the whole meeting. 6, consent agenda performance and monitoring committee. A, payroll. B, accounts payable. C, purchase orders. D, construction pay request log. E, air travel. F, IFB 23-03 for hot pizza. G, RFP 23-13 for security alarm monitoring and response. H, IFB 23-24 for Ellis School roof replacement rebid. I, IFB 23-26 for asbestos abatement at West Middle School. J, IFB 23-27 for asbestos abatement at East, Washington, and Flynn schools. K, Discovery Center contract. L, Digital Resource, TCI. M, KP Counseling. N, Midwest Dairy Grab and Go Equipment. O, Recurring Contracts, Power School Group LLC, eSchool Plus SIS Enterprise Management Services. P, Regional Office of Education, Morgan Gallagher on behalf of Flynn Middle School. Q, Recurring Contract, RSP Associates Northwest Quadrant Schools Boundary Analysis. R, Sunbelt Voco Vision Speech Pathologist. Item 7, consent items for the internal external stakeholders. A, 7A, intergovernmental agreement with the City of Rockford 5.0 program at Auburn. 8, consent items that came through the Governance Committee. A, meeting minutes for September 27th, 2022. B, contract purchase orders. C, fee waiver for the YWCA Literacy Council, ESL adult education classes. D, memorandum of understanding, ASME Local 692, Council 31 for the paraprofessionals. E, memorandum of understanding for ASME Local 1275, Council 31 for the bus drivers. F, memorandum of understanding, ASME Local 3210, Council 31 for nutrition services. G, workers' compensation settlement agreement with KW. And H, freedom of information log. Is there a motion and second to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Hearing none, please call the roll on the approval of the consent items.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes with 4 yeses, 2 absent.
We are now at the closed session consent agenda, including 9 closed session consent items, A, HR organization report and addendum, 10 closed session consent item student discipline, 10A, H0001X23, the expulsion is held in abeyance contingent upon an expulsion in abeyance agreement through the end of the 2022-2023 school year. B, H0006X-23, the expulsion is held in abeyance contingent upon an expulsion in abeyance agreement through the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year through the first semester of the 2023-2024 school year, which can be terminated early with successful completion of the refresh program and the suspension term be affirmed. 11, closed session consent items student discipline EIAs. A, T0002-23, B, P0006-23, C, P0007-23, D, P0008-23, E, P0009-23, F, P0010-23, G, H0003-23, H, H0004-23, I, H0005-23. Is there a motion and second to approve the closed session consent items?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any closed session consent items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, please call the roll on the approval of the closed session consent items.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes with 4 yeses, 2 absent.
Is there any other business, new business, agenda recommendations, or board member action steps? If there are no further comments or agenda recommendations by the board, I'll take a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.